What if your strange behaviors are actually acts of survival? What if the quirks people criticize, the overthinking, the hypervigilance, the guilt for prioritizing yourself, aren't flaws at all? What if they're the ingenious survival mechanisms of someone who adapted to a world of manipulation, gaslighting, and emotional chaos? For survivors of narcissistic abuse, these behaviors are often misunderstood, dismissed as overreactive or strange, leaving you, or someone you love, feeling isolated and ashamed. But these behaviors tell a deeper story. They're not signs of weakness. They're the marks of someone who endured, who found ways to navigate a toxic environment where their needs, emotions, and sense of self were consistently invalidated. And while these survival strategies served you in the past, they may now be keeping you tethered to wounds you're ready to heal. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden resilience behind these behaviors, why you might struggle with conflict, doubt your worth, or over-apologize, and explore the psychology that underpins them. If you or someone you care about recognizes these signs, know this: healing is possible, and it begins with understanding. Together, we'll explore how to turn scars into strength, transforming coping mechanisms into tools for thriving. This isn't just a discussion, it's an invitation. An invitation to see yourself or your loved one, not as broken, but as resilient. To take the first step toward healing and rebuilding a life rooted in confidence, peace, and self-love. If this resonates, join the conversation below with the mantra: I choose healing for myself and those I love. Let's build a community of strength and solidarity, one voice at a time. Stay with us until the end, because the journey to recovery begins here, and you're not walking it alone. Number 1. Extreme hypervigilance, the overthinking Olympics. You're in a relationship with someone who genuinely cares about you. They've done nothing to betray your trust, but every interaction feels like it's under a magnifying glass. They send you a quick text: I'm busy right now, I'll text you later. A normal person might shrug, put their phone down, and move on. But you? Oh no. You're entering the mental gymnastics arena. Why didn't they use an emoji? You wonder. Do they sound cold? Are they mad at me? What if they're secretly planning to break up? That single message becomes the soundtrack of your day, replaying in your mind as you piece together imaginary scenarios like a Netflix crime series. This isn't just casual overthinking, it's hypervigilance, the finely tuned radar you developed in your past life with a narcissistic parent or partner. Back then, even minor shifts in tone or body language could signal danger. A simple "sure, whatever you want" might have led to an outburst hours later, with accusations of selfishness or insensitivity hurled your way. To survive, you become an emotional detective, constantly decoding the hidden meanings behind every word and gesture. It wasn't paranoia, it was self-defense. Fast forward to now, and that hypervigilance follows you like an unwelcome ghost. In your current relationships, a delayed text feels like rejection. A short response sounds like criticism. You reread messages over and over, hunting for clues that aren't there until your brain is spinning like a hamster on a wheel. It's exhausting, isn't it? Here's the hard truth. Your hypervigilance once protected you in a volatile environment, but now it's sabotaging your ability to connect and trust. As Marcus Aurelius would say, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But let's not overcomplicate healing. You don't need a 10-step plan to freedom, just a few key strategies to quiet the chaos. 1. Pause the spiral. When you catch yourself overanalyzing, hit the mental pause button. Ask yourself, what's the most logical explanation? 9 times out of 10, they're busy is a lot more likely than they secretly hate me. 2. Rewrite the narrative. Take the scary story your brain is spinning and give it a boring, neutral rewrite. They didn't text back because they're in a meeting, not because they're plotting my doom. 3. Talk it out. Instead of stewing in assumptions, try a simple, direct approach. Hey, your message seemed a little short earlier. Is everything okay? Most likely, you'll find the answer is far less dramatic than you imagined. 4. Ground yourself. When anxiety flares up, reconnect with the present. Focus on your breath, stretch, or step outside for fresh air. Remind yourself, right now, I'm safe. Everything is fine. 5. Find a teammate in healing. Therapy can be a game changer for untangling the patterns of your past. Trauma-focused approaches like CBT or EMDR can help you distinguish real threats from imagined ones. Imagine receiving a message like, "I'll text you later," and simply thinking, "Okay, cool." No spirals, no second guessing, just peace. That's the freedom waiting for you on the other side of hypervigilance. It's not easy to silence the overthinking gremlin, but every time you choose calm over chaos, you're reclaiming a little piece of your life. So take a deep breath, put the phone down, and permit yourself to trust, not just others, but yourself. You've got this. Number 2, putting others' needs above your own. When yes becomes a habit, you can't break. You're the go-to person. Need help moving? You're there, even if you're running on fumes after a long week. Work emergency? No problem. You'll cover it, even though it's not your responsibility. Does your partner want a weekend getaway that you're not into? Sure, because saying no feels like betrayal. By the end of it all, you're not just tired. You're resentful, but only at yourself for letting it happen again. Sound familiar? This isn't just about being nice, it's about survival tactics you picked up long ago. Growing up with a narcissistic parent or partner, you learned that your needs didn't just take a back seat, they didn't even make it onto the bus. Assert yourself, and you'll hear something like, "You're so selfish. After everything I've done for you, you can't do this one thing?" Over time, you stopped asking for what you wanted. Saying yes became the path of least resistance. The less you prioritized yourself, the safer you felt. Think back to a childhood memory. Maybe you asked for help with a school project. Instead of encouragement, you got, "I don't have time for your little problems." Or worse, "I sacrificed so much for you, and this is the thanks I get?" The message was clear. Your needs were burdens, not priorities. To avoid the guilt and conflict, you learned to put everyone else first, even at the cost of your well-being. Fast forward to adulthood, and this pattern follows you like an overly demanding ghost. You overcommit, overgive, and over-apologize. Saying no feels like a crime punishable by guilt, so you keep saying yes, even when it drains the life out of you. The result? Exhaustion, resentment, and an ever-deepening belief that your worth lies in how much you can do for others. It's time to unlearn the habits that once protected you but now hold you back. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his soul." Here's how to reclaim your time, energy, and self-worth. 1. Start small. Next time someone asks for a favor, pause. Ask yourself, do I have the time and energy for this? If the answer is no, try saying, "I can't help right now, but I hope it goes well." Start with small boundaries to build your confidence. 2. Redefine what it means to be selfish. Repeat this mantra. Prioritizing myself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself allows you to show up better for others. 3. Celebrate saying no. Each time you set a boundary, treat it like a win. Did you decline an invitation because you needed rest? Amazing. Give yourself credit for putting yourself first. 4. Shift the focus. When guilt creeps in, ask, if someone else were in my shoes, would I expect them to do this for me? Chances are you wouldn't. Grant yourself the same grace. 5. Practice self-care without apology. Start carving out time for yourself, whether it's a quiet evening with a book or a weekend free from obligations. Remind yourself that your happiness matters. Picture this. Your friend asks for a favor, and you pause before responding. Instead of automatically saying yes, you weigh your options. You reply calmly, "I'd love to help, but I can't this time." And guess what? The world doesn't end. Your friend respects your honesty, and you're left with the energy to focus on what truly matters. Healing doesn't mean you'll never help others again. It means helping from a place of choice, not obligation. So go ahead, prioritize yourself, set those boundaries, because your time, energy, and well-being aren't just valuable, they're non-negotiable. And anyone worth having in your life will understand that. Number 3, suppressing emotions or overreacting. Swinging between numbness and explosions. You're stuck in traffic after a brutal day. Someone cuts you off, and before you know it, you're yelling like it's a championship game, and they're the opposing team. It's not just a honk or a muttered curse, it's a full-on meltdown as if their bad driving personally attacked your existence. Later, sitting in silence, you replay the moment in your head. Why did I react so strongly? What's wrong with me? Or maybe it's the other extreme. Your partner brings up something that upsets them, and instead of responding, you sit there like a statue. Inside, you feel a storm brewing, anger, hurt, frustration, but on the outside, nothing. You've gone emotionally AWOL, leaving the conversation hanging awkwardly in the air. Both scenarios leave you drained, questioning why emotions feel like either a runaway train or a locked vault. These extremes aren't random. They're the fallout of surviving narcissistic abuse. Growing up or living with a narcissist, you learned that your emotions were weapons, ones they could use against you or ridicule until you wished you hadn't expressed them at all. Anger was met with, "Stop being so dramatic," while sadness drew sneers like, "Are you crying for attention again?" Over time, you got the message loud and clear. Expressing your feelings was dangerous, so you buried them deep or let them explode in uncontrollable bursts. Imagine years of this conditioning. One day you're told to man up, because vulnerability is weakness. Another day, you're labeled too sensitive for having feelings at all. The result? Emotional chaos. Sometimes you suppress so hard you forget how to feel. Other times, all those pent-up emotions erupt at the smallest provocation. It's exhausting for you and everyone around you. Good news, you're not doomed to live on this emotional roller coaster forever. Marcus Aurelius, ever the Stoic, offers this reminder. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Here's how to stop swinging between extremes and start finding balance. 1. Spot the patterns. Notice when you tend to overreact or shut down. Are there specific triggers, like criticism, rejection, or stress? Write them down to understand what sets you off. 2. Name the feeling. When emotions start bubbling up, pause and label them. I'm feeling frustrated. Naming your emotions helps you process them instead of letting them spiral out of control. 3. Create a buffer. When you feel a reaction brewing, take a literal or mental step back. Deep breathing works wonders. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6. It's not magic, but it stops you from immediately blowing up or freezing. 4. Find a healthy outlet. Pent-up emotions need somewhere to go. Maybe it's the gym, where you can punch a bag instead of snapping at your coworker. Maybe it's journaling, where you let the feelings pour out without judgment. 5. Talk it out when you're ready. Share your struggles with someone you trust. Let them know, I'm working on my emotions and sometimes I need a little patience. Being vulnerable with the right person can be surprisingly healing. Number 6. Seek professional guidance. A therapist can help you unpack where these emotional extremes come from and give you tools to regulate them. Trauma-focused therapies like CBT or DBT can be life-changing. Picture this. Someone cuts you off in traffic and instead of exploding, you mutter, "Well, that was rude," and turn up your favorite playlist. Or your partner brings up an issue and instead of shutting down, you calmly say, "I hear you, let's talk about it." No emotional swings, no second guessing, just balance. Your emotions aren't your enemy, they're your guide. Suppressing or overreacting isn't the answer. Understanding and honoring your feelings is. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be present. Healing starts with small, steady steps toward emotional balance, and you're more than capable of taking them. You deserve to feel, and you deserve to be free. So let's start now. One breath, one step, one emotion at a time. Number 4. Difficulty identifying personal preferences. Rediscovering what you truly want. Picture this. You're out with friends at a restaurant, and the server hands you the menu. Instead of feeling excited to pick your favorite dish, you're overwhelmed. Do I want pasta? Salad? What if I choose wrong? You glance at your friends and mutter, "I'll just have what they're having." It seems trivial, but it's a glimpse into something deeper. A lifetime of losing touch with your preferences. For survivors of narcissistic abuse, this struggle often stems from a past where personal choices weren't safe. Perhaps as a child, you were thrilled to pick up a new hobby, only to hear, "That's ridiculous," or "Why waste your time on that?" Maybe you weren't even given a choice. Your interests were dismissed, replaced by the narcissist's priorities. Over time, expressing what you liked felt futile or even dangerous, so you stopped trying altogether. Fast forward to adulthood, and this conditioning leaves you unsure of what you truly want. Picking a movie, deciding on weekend plans, or decorating your home feels like a daunting task. What if someone judges your choices? What if you disappoint them? It's easier to let others decide, even if it means burying your desires. Reconnecting with what you like doesn't have to be a monumental effort. Start with small, manageable changes that help you rebuild trust in your ability to choose. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, be content with what you are and wish not to be otherwise. 1. Start tiny and stay curious. The next time you're faced with a choice, keep it low stakes. Choosing between tea and coffee? Pick one that catches your eye, even if you're not 100% sure. There's no wrong answer when it comes to preferences. 2. Experiment with new things. Try a food you've never tasted, watch a movie in a genre you usually avoid, or take a different route on your daily walk. Pay attention to how these experiences make you feel. Enjoying something is enough, no need for external validation. 3. Take 5 minutes to reflect. At the end of the day, think about one thing that brought you joy. Was it a song you heard, a conversation, a quiet moment? These reflections offer clues about what truly makes you happy. 4. Give yourself grace. It's okay to feel unsure. Remind yourself, I'm allowed to try things and change my mind. Preferences aren't set in stone. They evolve as you do. 5. Celebrate any decision. Whether it's picking a meal or choosing what to wear, pat yourself on the back for making the choice. Each small victory builds confidence in trusting yourself. Imagine confidently planning your weekend, filled with activities you genuinely enjoy, not because someone else suggested them, but because they make you happy. Picture browsing a bookstore and grabbing a novel simply because it intrigues you, without worrying if it's the right choice. Rediscovering your preferences isn't just about decisions, it's about reclaiming your identity. You are more than what others expect of you. You have the right to enjoy, explore, and define what matters to you. Take it one small step at a time. The journey isn't about perfection. It's about discovering, celebrating, and trusting yourself again. Number 4. Guilt for prioritizing yourself. The reluctant self-care revolution. Engaging. You finally decide to take a day off for yourself. No work emails, no helping friends move furniture, no dealing with anyone's drama. You're sitting on the couch with your favorite snacks and a binge-worthy show queued up. The remote is in your hand, but instead of pressing play, you're spiraling into guilt. Am I being lazy? Should I be doing something more productive? What if someone needs me? Congratulations. You've just sabotaged your well-deserved relaxation, courtesy of years of narcissistic programming. Growing up, prioritizing yourself was likely framed as selfishness. If you spent too long on a hobby or needed a break, you probably heard something like, "Must be nice to waste time while I'm working so hard for everyone." Or worse, "You only think about yourself. What about me?" Over time, the message became clear. Your needs were a betrayal, and self-care was a luxury you didn't deserve. Fast forward to adulthood, and the result is a comically tragic inability to enjoy even the simplest acts of self-prioritization. You might treat yourself to a fancy coffee, only to immediately feel like you should have saved that money for something important. Or you finally take a long overdue vacation, but spend half the time checking your phone, worried that people back home think you've abandoned them. Fun, right? This guilt isn't just inconvenient, it's absurd. It's the reason you apologize to the cashier for not having the exact change. It's why you feel bad for saying no to a favor, even when you're running on fumes. And let's be honest, it's why you end up watching other people take care of themselves on Instagram instead of permitting yourself to do the same. Instead of going full self-care guru overnight, start small. Baby steps are your best friends here. 1. Celebrate the tiny wins. Did you finally buy good coffee instead of the cheap stuff that tastes like sadness? Amazing. Clap for yourself. 2. Use humor to diffuse guilt. When the guilt creeps in, give it a ridiculous nickname. Call it Judgy Janice or Guilt Goblin and tell it, "Not today, Janice." 3. Remember the airplane rule. You've heard it 1,000 times. Put your oxygen mask on first. It's cliché because it's true. You're no good to anyone else if you're running on empty. Imagine this. You prioritize yourself unapologetically. You order dessert and the extra sauce. You skip a phone call because you're mid-nap. You leave the group chat for an hour and survive, and the world doesn't implode. People still like you. The planet keeps spinning. The truth is, caring for yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. So go ahead, Press play on that show, sip your overpriced coffee, and ignore the emails for a while. You've earned it. And if Judgy Janice has something to say, let her know she's not invited to your self-care party. Number 5. Depending on others to define your self-worth when approval becomes your currency. You're at work and your boss gives you a project. You spend hours perfecting it, double-checking every detail, and finally submit it. Instead of feeling accomplished, you're anxiously waiting for their reaction. When they praise you, relief floods in. You feel valuable and capable. But if they offer even mild criticism, your confidence crumbles. You start questioning your abilities, replaying their words in your head, wondering if you're good enough. In your personal life, it looks like this. You're out on a date with your partner, and they seem distracted. Your mind spirals. Did I say something wrong? Do they still love me? You find yourself fishing for reassurance, subtly asking, "Are we okay?" instead of enjoying the moment. Their validation, or lack of it, dictates your emotional state. This relentless need for approval doesn't come out of nowhere. For survivors of narcissistic abuse, self-worth was often tied directly to others' opinions. Growing up, your value might have been measured by how well you pleased the narcissist. If you didn't meet their expectations, they let you know, loudly, cruelly, and repeatedly. You'll never be good enough, or you're only as useful as what you can do for me. Over time, internalize their voice, making external validation your primary source of self-esteem. How is it showing up? You take on extra tasks, even when you're overwhelmed, hoping to earn your boss's favor. A single compliment feels euphoric, but criticism, no matter how constructive, feels like a personal attack. You overextend yourself, always saying yes to your partner's needs, even when it means neglecting your own. You need constant reassurance that you're loved or appreciated, fearing that without it, you're not enough. Whether it's choosing an outfit or deciding what to cook for dinner, you often look to others for approval. Is this okay? Do you like this? Becomes a mantra, leaving little room for your preferences. Rebuilding self-esteem doesn't mean shutting out others completely. It means shifting the source of your value back to yourself. Start with small, actionable steps to break the cycle. 1. Celebrate your wins without waiting for praise. At the end of each day, write down one thing you did well, no matter how small. Whether it's solving a problem at work or making a delicious meal, acknowledge your effort without seeking external validation. 2. Set boundaries. Practice saying no to tasks or requests that stretch you too thin. Remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to how much you can do for others. 3. Replace the need for reassurance with self-reflection. When you catch yourself seeking approval, pause and ask, why am I doubting myself? What do I already know to be true? Reaffirm your strengths internally instead of relying on someone else's opinion. 4. Spend time alone to reconnect with yourself. Go for a walk, journal, or try a solo activity you enjoy. Use this time to focus on what makes you feel good, not what impresses others. Today, walking into work, proud of your accomplishments without needing a pat on the back to feel validated. Let spending time with your partner, secure in their love without constantly seeking confirmation. Visualize making decisions based on what feels right to you, not what others expect. Your worth isn't up for debate, and it certainly doesn't depend on someone else's approval. It's time to reclaim your value, because it's always been yours to define. Number 6. Struggling to accept love or kindness. When generosity feels like a trap. Imagine that your partner surprises you with breakfast in bed, a small act of thoughtfulness. Instead of feeling warm and appreciated, your first thought is, what do they want from me? Or a coworker offers to cover a task for you, and instead of saying thanks, you're immediately suspicious. Are they trying to make me look bad? Even the simplest gestures of love or kindness feel like transactions cloaked in ulterior motives. For survivors of narcissistic abuse, this reaction is a defense mechanism born from years of manipulation. Growing up or living with a narcissist, you likely learned that kindness came with strings attached. Compliments were followed by demands. I did this for you. Now you owe me. Gifts were tools of control. After all I've done for you, you can't say no to me. Even moments of affection often felt transactional, creating a pattern where love was equated with obligation. Now, as an adult, accepting love or kindness feels foreign, even dangerous. Genuine gestures of care trigger discomfort or skepticism. You wonder, what's the catch? Instead of enjoying the moment, you brace yourself for the hidden price you're sure will follow. This inability to trust in others' goodwill not only isolates you, but also robs you of the joy and connection you deserve. In every area of life, the struggle to accept love or kindness casts its shadow. In relationships, when your partner expresses affection, whether through words or gestures, you instinctively downplay it, convincing yourself they're just being polite, or worse, that they have an ulterior motive. Sometimes, you even push them away, believing it's safer to avoid the risk of being hurt. At work, it's no different. A colleague offers to help with a challenging project, but instead of welcoming the support, you refuse, convinced they're setting you up for failure or trying to outshine you. Even with friends and family, the people meant to be your haven, you maintain a facade of strength. When they invite you to lean on them during tough times, you brush it off with, "I'm fine," unwilling to let yourself feel vulnerable or dependent. The consistent thread is this: a deep-seated fear that kindness is never just kindness, but a precursor to pain or control. Breaking the cycle. Trusting in genuine care. Relearning to accept love and kindness isn't about blind trust. It's about recognizing that not everyone operates with the same patterns as the narcissist from your past. Start small and build your comfort gradually. 1. Pause and reflect. The next time someone shows you kindness, take a moment to breathe before reacting. Ask yourself, is this person's action consistent with their usual behavior? Could this be genuine? 2. Practice saying thank you. When someone does something thoughtful, resist the urge to deflect or question it. Instead, simply say, "Thank you." Acknowledging their gesture is a small but powerful step toward acceptance. 3. Test the waters. Allow yourself to accept small acts of kindness without overthinking. Let a friend buy you coffee, or let your partner take care of a chore for you. Notice how these moments feel, and remind yourself that kindness doesn't always come with strings attached. Imagine letting your partner's compliments sink in without second-guessing their motives. Picture yourself accepting help at work without feeling indebted or suspicious. Visualize embracing love and kindness as they are, pure and unconditional. You don't have to earn love or prove your worth to deserve kindness. These gestures aren't about control or manipulation. They're about connection. Healing begins when you allow yourself to receive without fear, trusting that some people give simply because they care. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of kindness. Let the walls you've built come down, brick by brick, and allow yourself to experience the care and compassion you've always deserved. Number 7. Fear of conflict or confrontation. The art of avoiding everything. You're at a restaurant and the waiter brings you the wrong dish. Instead of pointing it out, you smile awkwardly and eat it anyway, convincing yourself it's not worth making a fuss. At work, your colleague dumps their responsibilities onto you yet again, and though frustration bubbles inside, you silently accept the extra load. In your relationships, when your partner makes a dismissive comment that stings, you swallow your feelings, telling yourself, bringing it up will only make things worse. This fear of conflict isn't just an aversion to uncomfortable conversations, it's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. Growing up or living with a narcissistic figure taught you that disagreement was dangerous. A simple no could spiral into yelling, punishment, or manipulation. You might have been met with accusations like, "You're so ungrateful," or punished with cold, silent treatment. Over time, you learned that staying quiet was safer than standing up for yourself. The result? A conditioned response to avoid conflict at all costs. Now this fear follows you everywhere. At work, you endure unfair criticism without defending yourself. In friendships, you ignore repeated slights to keep the peace. In relationships, you allow hurtful behavior to go unchecked, hoping that by staying silent, the conflict will somehow resolve itself. But it never really does it? Instead, resentment quietly builds, creating emotional distance and frustration. Avoiding conflict may feel like the safer choice at the moment, but it's a short-term fix that leads to long-term harm. The unresolved issues don't disappear. They pile up, eroding your confidence and relationships. Each time you avoid addressing a problem, you reinforce the damaging belief that your feelings don't matter. Over time, this silence chips away at your self-worth, leaving you feeling invisible and powerless. Healing from this fear doesn't mean turning into someone who thrives on confrontation. Instead, it's about learning to assert yourself with calmness and clarity without sacrificing your peace. Imagine the next time the waiter gets your order wrong, you calmly say, "Excuse me, I ordered something else." The sky doesn't fall. You're met with an apology and the meal you wanted. Or at work, when your colleague tries to pass off their tasks to you, you respond with, "I have my workload to focus on right now, but I suggest we speak to the manager if you need support." They might be taken aback, but they'll respect your boundaries. In your relationships, you find the courage to tell your partner, "That comment earlier hurt my feelings. Can we talk about it?" Instead of causing a fight, the conversation strengthens your connection. Addressing conflict isn't about winning or losing. It's about ensuring your voice is heard and your boundaries are respected. You don't have to tackle every confrontation perfectly, but each time you speak up, you reclaim a piece of your power. Your feelings matter, and it's time the world heard them. Number 8, constant self-doubt and over-apologizing. The never-ending "I'm sorry" parade. You're walking down the grocery store aisle when someone bumps into you, and yet, your reflex is to say, "I'm sorry." At work, during a meeting, you present an idea but immediately follow it up with, "But I could be wrong," shrinking your confidence before anyone else has the chance. Later, at home, your partner forgets an important date, and somehow, you're the one apologizing for not reminding them sooner. Sound familiar? This compulsive need to apologize for everything, even things beyond your control, stems from years of conditioning. Growing up or living with a narcissist meant constantly walking on eggshells, never sure when the next outburst or criticism would come. They gaslit you into doubting your own experiences. "You're just being dramatic, that's not what happened." And undermine your self-worth with relentless criticism. "Why can't you do anything right?" Over time, you learn that apologizing was a form of preemptive defense, a way to placate and avoid further harm. Now, as an adult, this pattern seeps into every corner of your life. You overthink simple decisions, like whether your email sounds too aggressive. You hesitate before speaking up, fearing you'll say the wrong thing. And you apologize endlessly, even when you've done nothing wrong, as though the weight of the world rests on your shoulders. Breaking the cycle of over-apologizing, living like this isn't sustainable. Apologizing excessively doesn't just diminish your confidence, it sends a message to others and to yourself that your feelings and boundaries don't matter. But here's the truth. You don't need to apologize for existing, for making mistakes, or for speaking up. Imagine pausing before you reflexively say, "I'm sorry," and realizing you have nothing to apologize for. Picture sharing an idea at work with conviction, or responding to kindness without feeling like a burden. Reclaiming your confidence starts with small, intentional steps. When you feel the urge to apologize, pause and ask yourself, "Did I do something wrong?" If the answer is no, replace it with phrases like, "Thank you for understanding," or simply say nothing at all. And when self-doubt creeps in, remind yourself that perfection isn't required to have value. Your worth isn't tied to endless apologies or flawless decisions. It's inherent, unshakable, and yours to embrace. Number 9. Exaggerating achievements and flaunting material possessions when validation becomes a performance. You're sitting with colleagues during lunch when the conversation shifts to recent accomplishments. Someone mentions a certification they earned, and without even thinking, you start talking about the advanced course you almost completed, embellishing the details just enough to make it sound like a big deal. Later that week, a friend mentions their new car, and before you realize it, you're casually dropping hints about the luxury item you've been eyeing, whether or not you plan to buy it. This isn't about dishonesty, it's about survival. Growing up with a narcissist meant living in a world where your achievements were never quite enough. If you succeeded, they found a way to take credit. "You only got that award because I pushed you." If you failed, or even fell short of perfection, you were reminded of your inadequacy. Is that the best you can do? Over time, you learned that being average wasn't acceptable. To feel valued, you had to overachieve, or at least appear to. Now, as an adult, that conditioning lingers. At work, you find yourself amplifying your contributions during team meetings, worried that your quiet efforts might go unnoticed. In social circles, you drop mentions of material possessions or achievements to keep up, afraid of falling behind. In relationships, you emphasize your successes, hoping they'll make you seem worthy of admiration or love. The irony is that this constant performance doesn't bring the connection or validation you crave. It often leaves you feeling hollow, as though the person others see isn't the real you. Worse, it reinforces the belief that your intrinsic worth isn't enough. You have to earn it through external markers of success. Breaking the cycle. Healing begins with recognizing that your value isn't tied to how others perceive you. You don't have to prove yourself to be worthy of respect or love. The next time you feel the urge to exaggerate, pause and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Often the answer lies in old fears of rejection or inadequacy, not the present moment. Imagine sitting in a conversation and sharing your genuine experiences without needing to embellish or compare. Picture feeling at ease in your accomplishments, big or small, and knowing they're enough, not because of others' reactions, but because they matter to you. Letting go of the need to perform isn't easy, but it's the key to living authentically and finding genuine connections. You're more than the show. You're the substance behind it. Conclusion: understanding the strange and choosing to heal. The strange behaviors of narcissistic abuse survivors are not strange at all. They're the marks of resilience, developed in the face of deep emotional challenges. Understanding these patterns is the first step toward breaking free from their grip. The insights shared here are a guide to help you begin the journey, but healing is deeply personal and unique to each individual. If you recognize yourself in these behaviors, consider this an invitation to explore further. While the suggestions in this discussion can provide a foundation, working with a professional therapist offers a safe space to dive deeper, process emotions, and develop personalized strategies for growth. Therapy can be transformative, equipping you with the tools to move forward with clarity, peace, and confidence. Remember, you are not defined by your past or the scars left behind. Healing is not only possible, it's a courageous choice. You deserve to feel whole, to rediscover your worth, and to build a life that reflects your true self. If this resonates with you, share your commitment to growth in the comments with the affirmation, I choose healing and strength. And don't forget to follow this channel for more insights, tools, and encouragement as you continue this powerful journey. Together, let's embrace healing, one step at a time.